Hello and welcome to the second episode of the Let's Talk Hoops podcast, hosted by me, Olly Rahimi, alongside the Miami Heat UK, and brought to you via the Miami Heat UK network. Let's Talk Hoops is a place where we'll discuss all things basketball and an awful lot more. So if you haven't already, go and check out episode number 1, where I spoke to former Sioux Falls Skyforce guard Antoine Johnson about his time ingrained in Heat culture, playing overseas in Georgia, as well as now playing in the British Basketball League for my hometown team, the Bristol Flyers. That is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever else that you choose to get your podcasts, you can find it there. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. We have an all-star special with an all-star cast. I'm delighted to introduce and say that I'm being joined by today Dan Healy from the Miami Heat UK and Heat Twitter royalty from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, the one and only Mr. Tony Schwartz. Gentlemen, it's lovely to see you both. Thank you very much for joining me. Dan, firstly, how are you doing? All well?
Yeah, all good, mate. Very good. Thank you very much for having me on.
Not a problem. Thank you for being here. And Tony, from all the way over in Florida, how are things with you?
Outside of horrifically muggy weather, which is probably just like high 40s and some clouds here, I'm doing great. Twitter royalty still isn't hitting the ears quite right. I very much appreciate you, my man.
No problem. Entirely deserved. And also, weather like that, that's summer weather for us in the UK.
Yes.
So, right, it's great to have you both here for our All-Star special. We'll talk all about All-Star in a little bit. Before we get into that, I have to touch on the breaking news from around the league over the past week. Obviously, the blockbuster trade that saw James Harden travel to Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Ben Simmons, Steph Curry, and Andre Drummond going over to the Brooklyn Nets. So I wanted to get your guys' takes on that. What was your initial reactions and sort of who do you think necessarily won the trade if there was a winner, Tony?
I'm very confused. You said the blockbuster trade from over the weekend, but you did not mention Tomas Satoransky getting traded to the Spurs for a second.
Well, that's the obvious one. I was trying to shed some light on Simmons and Harden because everyone knows about Satoransky.
Yeah, of course. Listen, I think for Daryl Morey, this is a win. Both teams obviously won the trade, but for him specifically, this is a win. Those trade packages for Ben Simmons were in the offseason, CJ McCollum, Tyrese Halliburton, who I actually really love, and maybe would have preferred that package if it came with a couple other Kings players. But you were able to trade Ben Simmons, not for CJ McCollum, not for Jeremy Grant, for James Harden, who is another top 15 player. So right now you are able to combine your top 5 player with a top 15 player, and usually that is a recipe for success. The Nets didn't have to give up any significant assets outside of Paul Millsap as a sweetener, and they were able to get back a defensive stopper and another play creator for them. So trades sort themselves out with time as far as like who wins, who loses. But in the moment right now, everybody's kind of a winner. By the way, the Nets don't have to pay James Harden until he's like 36 and making $60 million or something like that. And that's a piece of this that we're not talking about very often. That's pretty big. That's a contract I don't know if I want to be saddled with.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I mean, obviously, they're not going to want him to go down the same path as we're seeing with Russell Westbrook now when he's on a bad contract that basically no one's going to take. Personally, I can't see that happening. I think James Harden's much more of an elite level player, but it's always a worry. Dan, from your perspective then, how do you see the East sort of shaping out now, obviously with both teams kind of getting stronger?
Yeah, I think that Tony's nailed it. I think it is a win-win trade scenario. Both teams get rid of a negative asset and become better. I mean, I think both teams here have become better. I think that the Nets are now more rounded. I think Philadelphia to do that trade and keep their 2 young stars there in Maxey and Thibault is a huge thing for them. I think defensively it gives them that resilience still. The East now is brutal. Absolutely, it was brutal before, but there's genuinely 4 teams, maybe 5 if you include the Bulls. I don't, but a lot of people do. There are genuine title contenders here, and you wouldn't be surprised to see any of those teams come out of the East. But I think, just going back to that trade, I slightly give the edge to Philadelphia, though. I think for them to go all season, they're about 1.5, 2 games back from the 1 seed as it stands without an all-star caliber player in Ben Simmons playing a minute on court. Now they've added James Harden to the deal. They're going to be a problem. They're going to be a problem. But the team now all the way down is going to. This is tough division. This is a tough conference all the way down to the 8 seed here. We won't be seeing any sweeps. I think every single round is going to be pretty much a bloodbath.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Even like the Raptors and Celtics, who are lower down in the standings, like
You don't
wouldn't
want them.
want to see them. You wouldn't want to see them in the first round, definitely. So that'll be enough about Harden and Simmons, because it is all that everyone's going to be talking about for the next however long, and it has been for the last season. So let's move on to All-Star. So as we know, the NBA All-Star game is just around the corner, and with the All-Star starters and reserves now announced, we're going to be having our very own little All-Star draft a little bit later on, so stick around for that. Should be a lot of fun. So, as I said, with the starters and reserves now announced, many of which you probably would have expected, but probably some that you might not have. What are your guys' feelings about the reserves sort of in general? Are there any glaring omissions that you think, or anyone that is there and maybe shouldn't be, Dan?
I think the only one that I don't have any real grumbles here. I think that there was a lot of hype around Tyler Hero getting into this from a Heat point of view. I think he's playing all-star caliber basketball, and I think that it wouldn't be an uproar for him to be involved in this. But I think you got to look at that list there as a reserve pool and think, well, what one is he taking a place of? And some people might point towards maybe a Fred VanVleet or someone like that. I would think there'll be more uproar for Fred to be missing out from what he's done in Toronto than for Tyler to be in. So I don't think that it's any disrespect to Tyler. I think he's played all-star level basketball this year. He'll continue to grow. He'll use it as motivation. But I've got no grumbles with this list, really. I think it's about right. I think Jarrett Allen would probably have more of a case as well. I think there's a lot of noise around the league that maybe he should have been in. But I look at that reserve pool list and I think that's pretty spot on.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you, to be honest. I think Allen and Fred VanVleet definitely deserve it. If anything, I think the East is probably stronger this year and probably deserves more All-Stars than the West does. I know that's obviously not how it works, but Tony, I wanted to get your take on one starter in particular, Andrew Wiggins, and there's been a lot of talk about him, whether he deserves to be in the starting group for the All-Stars. What's your take on that?
Well, Andrew Wiggins is a hell of a basketball player, especially inside of that system. And I think that that's the first place that I want to start any discussion about this. Then when you go from there, the way that the system is incentivized is for players to really, or fans to really show out for their players, right? This should have been Andre Drummond or Devin Booker's, not Andre Drummond, but Draymond Green or Devin Booker's spot. I wouldn't have made Andrew Wiggins an all-star starter in any day of the week or any month of the year. But this is how the system is devised. And, you know, Golden State is a tech land that might have been able to create a few algorithms to make sure that he got into that spot. And that's great. And Andrew Wiggins has elevated his level of play to the point where he had to be in that conversation as an all-star. And he'll start the game, you know. It won't really matter. After the second quarter, Devin Booker will be eating into most of his minutes, and Devin should, because his team is second in the West. So it goes back and forth. I didn't have any glaring problems with this list either. There was no chance Tyler was making it over LaMelo, Fred, and Darius. He just isn't playing the roles that those guys are, almost isolated, right? Like Fred and Pascal are the only two impact players on the Raptors that are really, really, really killing those metrics. And Darius is the only offensive impact player like that. So, you know, outside of Chris Middleton being on there, there's no issues with this all-star.
Yeah, again, I pretty much agree with you. I think, as you were saying about the voting system, there was I think a couple of years ago, there was one year when Taco Fall got like the sixth number of votes in the East. Like, it's obviously, yeah, the fan vote is important, but when someone like Taco Fall, who played like 6 minutes all season, is sixth in the list of all-star voting, you know something.
So my thing is, right, like, if you're a Golden State Warrior fan, why was it Andrew Wiggins? Was it a meme or what? Because don't you feel like the guy should have been Draymond?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, he's played brilliantly all season. He's obviously going to be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year again. Yeah, and
this is the only thing that you would change about this list isn't the people on it. It's who's starting and who's reserving. And Draymond Green should be swapped with Andrew Wiggins here. That's my only real sort of gripe with this list.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Obviously, it's, you know, in the end of the day, you're an all-star. It doesn't matter. It won't go down the list as a starter or reserve. So for each player, it's a great honor. But yeah, I'd agree with you. I think Draymond deserves to start that. So obviously, it's not just the All-Star game over the All-Star weekend. There is the spectacle of Saturday night, which is the dunk contest and the three-point contest. The dunk contest, this year's participants, Jalen Green, Obi Toppin, Cole Anthony, and Juan Toscano from the Warriors, I believe. Firstly, guys, who do you see as the winner from that pool, Dan?
I haven't seen tons of their basketball, I'm not going to lie, but I love Cole Anthony. So I would give him the nod. I think it is. I think that he's got some bounce in him. I think that he's a young, refreshing player in this league. I'd give it to him.
Yeah, I know you've spoken highly of him in the past, so that's not surprising. Tony, how about you?
Yeah, Orlando tickets are cheap. I see a lot of Cole Anthony too. I'm gonna let you know that. I like Obi in this matchup. I feel Obi's like the most connected to the dunking community. With his college ties, but this is a crop of young athletic players that could just do anything. They could go and miss 3 dunks. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen went out there and missed 3 dunks in a row. So this is a real prop bet. If anybody wants to, get in on that action, this is a toss up.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Again, I'm a big fan of Jalen Green. I want to throw that out there. I think he's going to be a star in the league one day, and some of the highlights of his dunks are really impressive. So that would be interesting to see. The 3-point contest then, surprisingly, does not involve the league's best 3-point shooter in PJ Tucker, which us as Miami Heat fans are disappointed by. The people that have made it: Fred VanVleet, Desmond Bane from the Grizzlies, Luke Kennard, Zach LaVine, CJ McCollum, Patty Mills, Karl Anthony Towns, and Trae Young. So, same question again, guys. Who are your winners? Dan?
I think that's a good list. These guys are all shooters at high level, in big moments as well. But my man Fred VanVleet, I love the guy. I think I love any success story where it's an undrafted dude who's coming into getting paid, which he did last year, and now making All-Star, and he's in the 3-point contest as well. We saw it firsthand recently with all these games we recently played against the Raptors, that he can let it go from anywhere. He was hitting them from the logo against the Heat. I love everything about that guy. So I'll be rooting for him.
Yeah, there's something of a British underdog story in there that us UK fans seem to love, and naturally drawn to Fred VanVleet. Tony, what's your feelings?
I probably like Fred too. I'm going to shift a little bit though and take another guy who got drafted way too late, but Desmond. Desmond's a killer, and his efficiency this year is off the charts, and his shot kind of lends itself to the rack more so than some of these other like pin down screen shooters. So but if I have money, it's going on Fred. Fred's killing it.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that, and I'm sure Raptors fans will be clamoring for him to take home the trophy. So we've had enough of our build-up, and now for the main event then. So our very own All-Star draft. The rules will be quite simple. We'll take it in turns to draft a starting 5 with an initial 6th man from the list of 24 All-Stars that are on the screen now for those of you watching on YouTube. Each of us can select a maximum of 2 from the starters pool, filling out the rest of our teams from the players in the reserves pool. We'll then leave it up to you guys on Heat Twitter, on YouTube, to decide who has the best roster. So there is pride at stake here. It will be an important victory for whoever takes home the crown of best All-Star draftee. So before we did the draft, we did a random draft order to see who would be selecting first. That luxury goes to Mr. Tony Schwartz. I will then be going second, Dan third. The order will then reverse for the second round, so on and so forth. So without further ado, let's get into round 1. So round 1, pick 1. Tony.
I don't know too many people in an NBA All-Star game that are willing to get injured or put themselves in front of Giannis Antetokounmpo. So we're going to take GA with my first imaginary team building pick.
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And to be honest, that was my first pick as well. So secondly, I'm on the board now for the second pick. Giannis is off the board now, so that's a shame. But I'm going to go with the same trend. I'm going to go with another big man who I think is probably the MVP for the season, and I'm going to take Joel Embiid from the Philadelphia 76ers. Dan? Third pick.
Well, you took my man. You took Joel. I mean, Joel Embiid. What a season he's having. Great pick. Great pick there, Ollie. It makes it quite straightforward now for me though, because I'm going to have the best basketball player in the world, and that is of course Kevin Durant.
Good pick. So there's round 1 done. The order will now flip as we get into round 2. So Dan, back to you.
Okay. Damn, I wanted Joel. Okay, I'm going to go with definitely not Jokic. Fuck Jokic. It's going to be, of course, the best shooter in the world, Steph Curry.
Good pick. Hard to argue. So then with the second pick of the second round, that leaves, for me, I'm actually quite happy about this. And it probably isn't a name that would have come up in the first 4 or 5, but I'm going to take him purely for the enjoyment factor, the entertainment, and pairing him with Joel Embiid, I think will be really exciting. So I'm going to take Ja Morant.
Good shout.
And then Tony, last pick of the second round.
I'm really pissed you took Ja. It starts there. We're gonna pair Giannis and LeBron as they like to do in real life a lot.
I'm so proud of all of us for not picking Nikola Jokic. Thank you.
I was tempted to just blank his name out of that screen.
Yeah, you should have done.
Oh, so that's the starters done. So we are now moving on to the reserves pool for round number 3. So as I said, 4 reserves each, one of which, one player from your roster will be a 6th man, doesn't necessarily have to be a reserve. So round 3, pick number 1. Tony, back to you.
I hate this. I wish I didn't have to go first. I'm going to commit to my team build. We're going to go Devin Booker here.
Good pick. I like that. That is a good pick. Surprised you didn't take Jimmy Butler first as a Miami Heat fan. But I'm going to be a victim of hypocrisy here, because with the second pick, I'm not going to take Jimmy Butler. To go with Ja and Joel Embiid, I'm going to put Luka in.
Damn.
Yeah, it's good. It's made it easier for me now, because I was tossing up between Luka and Jimmy. I don't know if I need Luka if I've got Steph, so I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler. I think this is a good fit.
Cool. So there we go. There's round 3. And Dan, back to you.
Oh, it's back to me. Blimey. Right. I need a big, and there's only 2 bigs here. And this is a bit difficult because I spend my time campaigning for Bam over Cat all the time. But now I've got to pick Cat because Cat is clearly a better centre than Rudy Gobert, who shouldn't be there maybe at all. So Karl Anthony Towns is my 4th pick.
Nice. That's a hot take on Rudy Gobert, but I must say I agree. I actually think Cat is a really elite centre. And
oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Cat, but Bam better.
Yeah, we can leave the Heat Twitter stuff on Heat Twitter. We're on a show now.
Exactly. This is an unbiased podcast. Slightly. Cool. So back to me then for my 4th pick. This again is a little bit of a toss-up, and for the sake of roster construction, I've got Ja Morant, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid. I am going to put at the 4 spot Jason Tatum, I think. Which may be an interesting take, maybe a hot take, but that's the one I'm going for.
Good shot.
And then back to Tony.
Dan, who did you take in the last round?
Cat.
Okay, then I'm going to take Zach LaVine right here.
Nice and simple. Right, so that was round 4, I believe. So now on to round 5. And Tony, you're second.
I get the snake right now.
You get again.
Oh, Chris Paul.
I like that. The point god himself. Right, so back to me for my 5th pick. This is difficult. There's a lot of players off the board now. So we've got the likes of Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert still on there, but I'm not going anywhere near him. I I think to play at the small ball 3, I'm going to go for the traded man himself, James Harden. And Dan.
Okay. You've made it quite easy because it was a toss up between Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell, actually, I was gonna lean towards anyway. So I love this 5. This is now looking good. So Steph, KD, Jimmy Butler, Karl-Anthony Towns, Donovan Mitchell slots in there beautifully.
Nice. That is a team that you would not want to see, especially in a 7-game series. Sweet. So the final round then. Dan, back to you for the first pick of the final round.
Okay, it's the man that I've already waxed lyrical for already. One of my favourite dudes in the league. I'm delighted he's still there. Fred VanVleet.
Good pick. Hard to argue with it. And then, so my final pick. Again, it's a difficult one because there's not a lot of names left now.
Don't you take my guy. Don't you take my guy.
I'm going to go because All-Stars, typically there is limited defense. Tony, you've got Giannis in your team. Dan, you've got Jimmy. So I'm going to go for Draymond.
Yes. Just so you guys know, to prove it, I wrote it down because I really want it, and I'm going to take Garland with my last pick.
Nice. I had a feeling you were going to go that way.
So it left Chris Middleton and Rudy Gobert as undrafted.
That's correct.
We did well, guys. We did well.
Yeah, I think we did well. And then from the starters, it was Trae Young, Andrew Wiggins, Nikola Jokic, and DeMar DeRozan, I believe, were the undrafted ones.
Yeah, DeMar's the one that probably should have came out of that list, maybe.
Yeah, I think if DeMar would have been a reserve, he would have definitely. I mean, I probably would have taken him, but it's hard to argue over people like Joel Embiid and stuff. So there we have it. Draft complete. 3 brilliant rosters put together there. I want to get a coach's perspective now on each roster. So talk me through your selections. Tony, first of all, you had the very first pick. So remind us of your squad. Talk us through why you've gone for them and what you're thinking is behind it.
So we're running a team right now of Giannis, LeBron, Booker, Levine, and Chris Paul. And this sounds like a incredibly long, lengthy, switchable front. Okay. I'm going to throw blitzes at you. You're going to see some zone. You're going to see some full court 2-2-1 press with Chris Paul and Darius Garland. You will not be able to breathe defensively. Life is going to be hell. I have shot creators all over the place. Garland, Paul, Levine, Booker. We're going to kill you wherever we want to kill you. And then if everything else doesn't work, LeBron's going to take over. And if that doesn't work, Giannis is just going to run straight ahead. I feel really good about this squad. I feel like I have enough names to win the polls. But I also feel like basketball heads are going to see my length and switchability here and understand what I'm doing.
Okay, so I see the tactic now. So you've gone for the big names to try and win the poll. I see.
There's thought. but it's layered.
I like it. No, that is a very good squad, and it's hard to argue with that. So I picked second. So then my squad that we've got right now, Ja Morant running the point. We've got Luka, Harden, and Jason Tatum, who are all kind of switchable in that 2-3-4 area, and then Joel Embiid is the big man. Again, maybe lacking some sort of defensive prowess compared to Tony, your squad, but shot creators all over the place. You've got some of the best scorers in the NBA for the last couple of years. The entertainment factor of Ja Morant, so hopefully that will play into people's minds. If you want to see some crazy dunks, some alley-oops, I don't know who to, actually, but he can at least try them. That might be quite entertaining.
Are they just going to come down to court and trade off who's going to take the step back 3? Like, is it going to be Tatum, then to Luka, then to Harden? They're just going to go in like a circle?
Yeah, exactly. It's we like to spread the wealth in our offense. So our offense is predominantly step back 3s. Yeah. So if you want a high scoring game, come to my team. And then Draymond Green off the bench potentially to shut down your hopes of a dominant victory.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dan, over to you. What was your team? What's your thinking?
Yeah, my team is again maybe not as defensively minded as what Tony's probably is, and it's not as switchable, I would say. But with Steph Curry at the point, Donovan Mitchell, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, and Karl Anthony Towns, I think that's pretty. I think the balance there is pretty special. I think you've got a lot of people that can get a bucket there. Obviously, you're reuniting Steph and KD. There's all the way through here. There's baskets. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns, one of the best 3-point shooters as a natural big. Donovan Mitchell is of athleticism. He's going to do the business, and Jimmy Butler's there to grind in what we know that he does: get into the paint, organize everybody, give us that defensive presence. He's going to be overworked maybe on a defensive end, but that team is pretty special in terms of a rigid offense there. I think that's going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, again, very good points. And I think we've got, like I said, 3 really good teams there, which you would expect, seeing as we've picked from a list of all-stars. So maybe not entirely surprising, but that'll be interesting. And now it is over to you, NBA Twitter, Heat Twitter, however you want to call yourselves, to see who has got the best 6-man all-star roster. If you are watching on YouTube, let us know in the comments. If not, get over to Twitter. We're going to be running a poll in the next day or two.
It's going to be Dan. He picked Mitchell and Jimmy. I mean, Mitchell's the Heat darling, and he's got Jimmy.
I know. We're going to try and keep this as unbiased as possible, but I don't think it's going to happen.
There was no thinking of that whatsoever, Tony. That's
right. Right.
That is tampering to the highest degree, Dan.
Mark Cuban has an inquiry right now.
The cards just fell in place.
Yeah, that's the same argument Pat Riley's going to use in the summer.
Exactly.
Perfect. So over to you then. We'll put the poll out and we'll see who won. The prize of winning, as I said, pride, honor, and the crown of ultimate all-star drafter. We hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. Something a little different, but excited look ahead to the spectacle of All-Star Weekend, which gets underway on Friday, the 18th of February, with the Rising Stars game, and the Celebrity Game makes its return. Saturday night, as we mentioned, is the All-Star Slam Dunk contest, as well as the 3-point contest, and then the main event on Sunday night, which is the All-Star Game itself. Dan and Tony, thank you both again for joining me today. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your very busy schedules to come and join and take part. Make sure you all go and follow Dan and Tony on Twitter, subscribe to the Miami Heat UK TV YouTube channel, and drop us a like. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, please drop us a rating. It does us the world of good. So if you enjoyed the episode, please do so, and we'll catch you again very soon.